Djibouti, Britain the north, and the Italians the south, by far the biggest and most productive part. In August 1940, the Italians captured British Somaliland, but 7 months later, a regenerated mood of national awareness was soon disappointed. For 10 more years, administered by Italy, Somalia was once again divided. The UN were to play another indeterminate role in Somalia over 40 years later. In 1960, the two colonies became independent, and on the 1st of July that year, united to become the Republic of Somalia. At last, there was a prospect of a united, prosperous country, run by the Somalis themselves. But many Somalis had divided loyalties between Abdul Osman and his Prime Minister, Abdul Rashid Ali Sharmake, began to lay the framework for what to become. Went on a mercy mission to the northeast. Marco went on a mercy mission to the northeast. He never reached much of peace. Relentlessly making decisions, he quickly consolidated the National Assembly, and personally, over 1969, Radio Mogadishu announced that Major General Siad Barre had staged an allegedly bloodless coup. Relentlessly making decisions, he quickly consolidated his position. Proclaiming himself president, he abolished the National Assembly and personally headed an appointed 25-member Supreme Revolutionary Council. People supported him. Born in the Ogaden, he was an anti-colonialist. Many who hadn't heard, they sent an estimated $245 million in military support and loans. The former colonialism was now replaced by a superpower domination. One of the biggest problems in the Red Sea, air and naval bases in Aden and on the island of Socotra. The US therefore signed an agreement with Barre in August 1980, giving them unlimited access to airfields and docks in Berbera, Kismayo and Mogadishu, 2 and 83. Funded by Ethiopia, the Somali national movement based on the Isaac clan waged a guerrilla war in the north. Barre found himself fighting his own people. A complex character, Barre was also prepared to give people a second Barre. A desire for revenge became increasingly apparent. An embattled army and an empty treasury forced Barre to sign a peace treaty with Ethiopia in April 1988. Deprived of its funding by the treaty, the SNM launched a desperate attack on the north, overrunning Barao and occupying part of Hargeisa. Barre was furious and unleashed the full strength of his forces against the rebels. Mercenaries bombed the rebel cities, as many Somali pilots refused to kill their own people.
North. The international media did not show up en masse for the slaughter of the Isaaqs. Barre's atrocities were largely ignored, but Isaaq artists captured their flight. All-out civil war eventually erupted in 1988, when a mainly Isaaq resistance group called the Somali National Movement, the SNM, briefly seized Hargeisa and other towns. Barre ordered Soviet MiG jets and American-built tanks to level the cities. But it wasn't enough to save his regime. In January of last year, Barre fled to Kenya. His bodyguards gunned down and left to rot outside the presidential palace. In the north, the Isaaqs inherited a dying land. In Hargeisa, once home to 500,000 people, 50,000
houses and houses and houses. But here you can see how his own language talking about the city. L'esercito somalo è stato colto di sorpresa. 2 settimane prima il trattato di pace con l'Etiopia aveva molti infatti. Interprete d'eccezione il ministro delle finanze. E con il belga usato armi dei tanti. Quindi era costretto di preservare quello che si poteva salvare. E certo queste operazioni qualcuno sarà morirà o morto. Quindi abbiamo usato la forza.
burburka baaxadda leeg ee idin muuqda ciidamadii diktaatoorkii maxamed falkan magaalada ee fooshaxin magaaladu siday u dhan tahay waa sidaad arkaysaan iyo si ka daran aargudasho ilaa naxariisa ummaddan ay ka eriyaan kana xoreeyaan ummadda soomaaliyeed dulliga iyo dalxumada saaran markaasi waxa uu noqday aayatiinkii ummadda soomaaliyeed sidaad arkaysaan waa falalkii aargudasho mar kasta oo xabadda waa taas idiin muuqata ummad cadow ama qalad samada kaalihii ummadda soomaaliyeed iyo tacabkoodii sida loo burburiyey ninka dalka sheeganayay inuu madax ka yahay ee uu mas-uul ummadda soomaaliyeed ka yahay waa ka sidaa u burburiyey iminka ayaad moodaa in magaalada lagu soo wara noqnoqonayo kabacdi nolol ah oo haatan suurtagal ka ah meeshan biyo ma jiraan leegma jirayay ee ay baabuurta maraysay sida ay dhultooda baxday waa magaalo dhowr sano dibadgalan ahayd oo markii dambena isku bedeshay kaymo muuqaalkaad u jeedaan waa masaajid kaldayac ninka ummadda soomaaliyeed ay la dagaalamaysay waa ninkaa masaajidadii ummadda islaamkii ay ku tukanaysay ayaa sidaa loo burburiyey balwaxa wataa aragtidii magaaladu ku tusaale qaata waa taariikh ka mid ah taariikhaha diktaatoorada adduunka kanina